I'd like to call this regular scheduled meeting of the Oscoda Township Board for March 25th to order. If we could begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cummings? Here. Ms. McGuire?
Here.
Mr. Spencer?
Here.
Mr. Taser?
Here.
Mr. Sutton here. Mr. Worcesterbarth?
Present.
Mr. Palmer?
Here. We have a quorum. Next is our agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
I do not have any at this time.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I would make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings? Here. Ms.
Yes.
McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Worcesterbarth?
Present.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. We have an agenda. Next is our first public comment. This public comment, we ask that you fill out a card, and if you would, when you come up, please state your name for the record. Do we have the card? Any cards?
Yes, I have two. The first one is Mr. Jeff Linderman.
Good evening. Jeff Linderman, Oscoda, Cedar Lake Riparian, and a member of the Alcona-Iosco Cedar Lake Association. During the regular Township Board meeting on January 22nd, 2024, a public hearing was convened to address the proposed dissolution of the CLIB initiated by Trustee Worcesterbarth. Trustee Worcesterbarth presented a thorough presentation on the subject, prompting Trustee Spencer to make a motion, seconded by Trustee Taser, to write a letter to the Iosco Alcona Commissioners, Greenbush Township, and the CLIB to articulate Oscoda Township's concerns. On Friday, March 15, 2024, I submitted a FOIA to Clerk Sutton requesting a copy of the letter. As of today, March 25th, I have not received acknowledgement of the FOIA request or a reply from Clerk Sutton. In light of these proceedings, several questions have arisen. One, was there a letter as stipulated in the requested motion written to the three governmental bodies and the CLIB? Two, if so, what specific directives or requests were outlined in the written communication? Three, have any responses been received from any of the recipients of the requested letter? During the public hearing, Trustee Worcesterbarth, who serves as the Oscoda Township representative to the CLIB, explained and established that the Special Assessment District and underscored instances of alleged financial mismanagement of the SAD funds involving the acquisition of real property by the CLIB. Additionally, Trustee Worcesterbarth alleged the CLIB violated the Michigan Open Meetings Act, OMA, along with the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, during his presentation. In light of these allegations, the following questions arise. One, has Trustee Worcesterbarth communicated his concerns and involvement in the alleged CLIB misallocation of taxpayer SAD funds, OMA, and FOIA violations to the state of Michigan, local prosecutor, or the state police? Has Oscoda Township initiated an ethics investigation regarding Trustee Worcesterbarth's self-admitted involvement into the purported SAD, OMA, and FOIA violations? This board prompt attention for these answers is requested to secure transparency of local government. Thank you.
Thank you. Next,
Next, we have Ms. Kelly Brown.
Good evening, Oscoda Township Board, Kelly Brown, Oscoda residents. I have a question regarding the old business that I've asked to be an agenda item numerous times. Under your board protocol, which unfortunately, after the last policy subcommittee meeting, the Superintendent Klein informed me that nobody seems to use that. And I'm curious why. So if any board members want to enlighten me, because Trustee Spencer mentioned that you guys all adopted it. So I'm just curious why we cannot add old business. I think the CLIB issue, ironically, would have been brought up before 2 months went by. Several riparian lake owners have asked, what's going on? They had this big meeting. Where's the follow-up? There was a meeting Friday with the CLIB. Supervisor Palmer, you were there. Nothing was said, nothing was discussed. None of the concerns were brought up. It was on Zoom in case anybody out there in the public domain wants to get involved in it. So under your board protocol with regards to agenda items, 8.10, item B, members of the public. You can, by submitting your request in writing to the township board or during a regular board meeting. And the clerk is supposed to be given 10 days prior to the meeting for which it's requested to be placed on the agenda. I've requested it numerous times. No one gets back with me 10 days later. Is there a reason why you guys are not using something that you adopted and spells out all the procedures? Makes it easy on the citizens to know what you're doing? Helps you guys get things done? You can revise the agenda and add old business. The CLIB letter would have been taken care of. Regarding FOIA, that FOIA letter, I got a copy of it because he's my husband. That FOIA letter was written at 3:47 on March 15th. But your FOIA log that we make sure is in the packet every meeting doesn't have it on there. But ironically, you have under informational a CLIB placeholder letter. Seems a little odd, considering there was a 313 FOIA request by someone else, and that was included on the FOIA log. Just seems rather convenient. Speaking of FOIA, I had requested a FOIA. Mr. Sutton, Clerk Sutton will be familiar with this. I requested this FOIA way back about the attorney's bill for the toxic workplace investigation. I went back to look at them because there were some questions during your February 22nd this year board meeting with the attorney with regards to ethics complaints and all of that. So I went back to look at the June bill that I had received via FOIA. And Clerk Sutton, this is probably something you want to pay attention to. I requested that, and lo and behold, I did get the documents. But when I went back to look through them all outside of the totals, the only month that I didn't have extra pages for billing was June of 2023. So I sent him a note, thinking it must just be an obvious error. Just didn't scan all the pages or they got caught in the scanner, right? That's what we all would think. Nope, that is the only, that he responded back to me. That is the only page. The attached invoice is the only invoice received for June 2023 services. So now everybody knows I'm going to double check this stuff, right? That's just what I do. I'm a numbers girl. So I reached out to the treasurer's office. Didn't ask for a copy of the bill, just wanted to know how many pages. Just wanted to know if we're all in sync. Because all the other months, which were 5 that I had multiple pages. That June invoice has 5 pages. I never got it. Why? So someone needs to look into the FOIA. Thank you.
thank you. That was all we had?
Yes.
Next up is the consent agenda. We have our regular meeting minutes from March 11th, the prepaid bills from March 26th, the amount of $24,211.91, check run from March 15th in the amount of $106,422.40, and the check run from March 19th, $37,753.74, and then the delinquent tax settlement. Are there any questions or concerns about the consent agenda?
When under the Department 62 or 262 elections, there's a whole group of stuff. Is that just reimbursement for the election
The
workers?
mileage.
For mileage,
Yeah, just check.
since our early elections were in Tawas. Our poll workers had to drive down there.
Oh,
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support, Sutton?
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Roll call, please.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next, we have our subcommittee reports. We'll start out with Mr. Freeman.
Good evening. Starting with the water main projects, Phase 6, we held a pre-construction meeting with contractor back on March 8th. And he is scheduling to start up the project out on in up Colbath Lakeview area April 1st. He's been coordinating his activity for traffic control and material storage and all of that, so he's on track with that. And we will be getting updated notices out to the residents with that schedule and a tentative time frame when they can expect hearing from the contractor as far as starting to schedule water service hookups, which more likely than not, if everything goes, according to plan, it should be starting to hook some of those up maybe the end of May, first part of June. Phase 7, that's the township-wide service line project. Roe is assisting me on the finalizing of the bid documents, and we should have that out for advertising here within the next week or so. With that, scheduling a bid opening by the end of April, and getting a contractor on board in May, and getting the water services for the rest of the township underway. The water system improvements of 2024 DWRF program. 90% plans were submitted to Eagle this week, or last week, by Roe. So they're starting to review those for comments with the intent there that project will be more likely out to bid in the June timeframe with loan closing and a contractor on board in July, and work on that starting up late summer, early fall. The EPA community grant, that's the Senator Peters appropriation. Got through a couple of rounds with our EPA grant coordinator on the work plan and schedule. I think we're all set there, and he is now taking that to the next steps as far as identifying what type of permitting that we're going to need to have for that. And then once that's done, he will work with us to get the grant actually initiated so that we can start making requests for reimbursements for, which would be up to this point, engineering services and some of the other work that was done. So hopefully should have that in place. I'm hoping for by the end of May, 1st of June, and then plans on that will be ready by the end of summer, and the contractor would be awarded in the fall. So most of that project will probably be in 2025. Sanitary sewer projects, the last of 2021 sewer system project, we're finalizing that with Eagle. Just needed to get them some additional paperwork, and then they want to do a site visit. He said when the weather got better, so we're still waiting on that. So as soon as we schedule that with Dave Worthington, I'll let Tammy know, and he'll be to the township offices and walking different areas of the project on that. The 2024 sanitary sewer project, same as the water, 90% plans have been submitted on that. And that included everything but the PFAS treatment, because we haven't got that finalized yet from the pilot study as far as the amount of contamination that was sampled, and then coming up with the specifications for the equipment, but that should be ready to go out for Eagles review probably within the next week or so. So just a little behind on that. Ratliff Park, we've submitted all the paperwork back to the DNR for the getting the grant finalized and in place. WTA is working on the plans for Warrior Pavilion and the restroom facility. And from what I understand, the kayak, fishing pier and the kayak launch is pretty well set by the DPW. I've been trying to communicate and try to schedule a visit by the kayak launch manufacturer so that we can get that thing under production, or not sure if it has to be fabricated or if it's on the shelf. So we're trying to determine what that is. So we're on track there. Hull Island, still just waiting for the final legislative and governor's approval on that. There are some tasks that we can get accomplished, like the identifying the appraiser that we're going to want to use in that. So we're working on that, so that once we get, again, authorization on that project, we can start working with Huron Pines and acquiring that. Phase 3 trail project, I believe, is all taken care of with MDOT. Haven't heard anything more back on the paperwork side, and I'm going through the grant reimbursements to make sure that we've requested all the remaining grants. Playing phone tag with one individual as far as what they're going to need to close out the trust fund grant. I believe we have 1 or 2 invoices that have been paid to the road commission, and I'll need to get those canceled checks. Those were, I think, in the board's packet back in December or January. I need to send out an email to you on that. I just haven't done it yet. The Oscoda River Trail project, continuing efforts on getting that project established with funding possibly through various agencies, and then also permitting with Eagle. The facilities study with WTA. We had the work session with the subcommittee of planning and zoning, and just waiting on the next steps there. I am looking into funding of that type of project and kind of what it entails, either with CBDG, MEDC, and all that stuff. It's just that their 2024 programs are not out on the street yet, so we're waiting on that, get information. Continuing to coordinate with F&V operations on a variety of service line issues that come up, new line, new services, problem services, continuing with the water loss investigation, going back and reviewing when records were switched, as far as billing records, to make sure that we didn't miss client or residents or customers, and then also making sure that our operation of the master meters with HRSA and Oscoda Township is accurate, and that they're not being bypassed. So we're looking into that as far as that goes. That kind of come out of the River Road water main break. There was some peculiar things going on with the valve operations up there, so we're looking at that, and we're actually going to have a meeting on that this coming Friday. Essentially that, we're chasing down, again, several grant opportunities. Week from today is the development grant, the MT Trust Fund grant that we're submitting for Oscoda Beach Park, improvements to the boardwalk and beach access, passport grant out at Oscoda here on Sunrise Park for vehicle parking off from 23, safe vehicle parking off from 23, and then beach access there also. I believe later at tonight's meeting, there's a couple of resolutions for allowing those applications to be submitted. And still pursuing safe routes to school. MDOT's program was kind of in a little disarray this year. So we're trying to figure out if we can get on track with something for 2025 there. Consumers Energy still has a variety of their grants out there. So we're still looking at any and all opportunities there. Holiday Inn, I understand they had a soft opening, so some of the rooms are available, from what I understand. And then site plan reviews are just kind of on hold right now as they come in. So we got one residential, one that came in for preliminary site plan review that we're starting to take a look at. So that's my report.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Rick?
I don't know if it's for Rick or for Tammy or, but the apartment complex that was supposed to be being built on Skeel, what's the latest on that?
So they are working on a different set of site plans and they need to resubmit, as far as the last I had talked to them.
Okay.
I thought we did an extension for them, but aren't we like over that extension? Seems like
Yes,
we're way
we're discussing things with our legal side to see what we can do and get that taken care of.
over. Okay.
All right, no further questions. Thank you, Rick. Next is the Oscoda Wordsmith Airport Authority Board. I attended that meeting last Thursday. We had an audit presentation. They're on a fiscal year, where their fiscal year begins October 1st and September 30th. Everything looked good according to the auditor. They had increased revenue over $200,000 while keeping their expenditures pretty much the same year over year. They have increased added $6 million to their net worth by improving the facilities out there. One of those improvements was $7 million that they invested in resurfacing a taxiway out there last summer. It was a big project. They completed the work on Hangar 10. The ground run-up shelter was complete, and the Operation Clean Slate, where they moved what used to be the salvage yard over to the old alert facility area, and that opened up 40 acres of area on the base where they can develop for possibly additional hangars or other types of enterprises. So that opened up a little over 40 acres on the base. So all in all, they're doing great work out there, and things are moving forward. So that is my report. Next would be the Planning Commission, Mr. Taser.
Good evening. At the last Planning Commission meeting, we reviewed the Flight District ordinance and recommended sending that ordinance to public hearing. That's the rezoning of this whole area out here. We held a public hearing for a special land use permit for Oscoda Hardware for a cold storage accessory building. That was approved with conditions. We held a public hearing for a special land use permit for party and food for vehicle fuel station. That case was approved with conditions. As a trustee representative to the Planning Commission, I met with Superintendent Klein to state some of the issues I believe need to be addressed with the Planning Commission. They included training. We have a relatively new board, and we need to get that training brought forward, expedited as soon as possible. I recommended that our new member welcome packet for the Planning Commission members to be reviewed and updated with the training needs identified in the packet and how to receive this training. I recommend that our applications for the Planning Commission members should be updated to include a description of what the position entails and what training will be mandatory for its members. I think that would be important. And I believe that all discussions about planning commission issues that are with our township attorney should have the trustee representative present, since the attorney works for the board. So those are recommendations that I put forward to Superintendent Klein. We'll openly discuss more of those. So, and that's my, one other thing, the municipal building. I was not attending that. I was sick that day, so I don't have an update on that discussion about the municipal building. So, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Next is the ZBA, Mr. Spencer.
No updates, we haven't met.
The LDFA, Ms. McGuire.
We just had our meeting, and a couple things. The cement removal and replacement has begun on the recovered apron. The capture has been received for 2023, and that was in the amount of $229,705. And it's up last year it's up $21,000 from last year. There was also an update to their budget, and that has been submitted to Superintendent Klein.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
The EIC, Mr. Sutton.
All right. We had a special meeting on 3/19/2024 to address the concerns proposed by the Township Board on the facade grant, which the revised copy is on the agenda for approval tonight. On Monday, March 4th, 2024, the MEDC began accepting applications for the Match on Main program. The total funding round allocation is $750,000, which will allow for approximately 30 grantees across the state. The application will close on Wednesday, April 17th, and awardees are anticipated to be announced in summer 2024. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. The 911 Board, Mr. Spencer.
Pretty sure I gave an update on this, but the last meeting we did they were talking about adding another repeater to the top of another tower, since the one that they did add did make quite a big difference. So they're working on that, and the next meeting is in a few weeks. It's next month, so I'll have another update for us on that next month.
All right, thank you. Next is the HUSRA, Ms. Klein.
Okay, so the HUSRA Board, we scheduled a work session for June 4th to go over primary to secondary mean designation process. And so there was a scheduled inspection for the Wordsmith Air Force Base North Water Tower that was put out for proposals. It was awarded to Dixon Engineering. It's on a 5-year rotation, and this year the Wordsmith Tower is up for inspection. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. The RAB, Mr. Cummings.
Yes, so just about an hour and a half ago, we received an email from Steve Willis, the project manager for the Air Force, informing RAB members that relative to RAB action number 140, which had requested a copy of this questionnaire used for interviews during the PFAS sources other than AFFF investigation. So there's this investigation that's going to be taking place, and this has to do with those who have worked on the Air Force Base. Let's see if I get the exact dates on that. It's between the years of 1950 and 1993. And the Air Force is looking for folks who might be in the area or in any location. They might even moved out of state, but basically trying to get in touch with folks to try to get some sense for where the AFFF exposures, the PFAS exposures occurred that were not AFFF. And trying to get some other information from those folks, including what other departments they may have worked in, etc. Anyway, so that was just announced, and that's important. And the next part of that is to say that the flyer that I just mentioned has been posted in public areas like the VFW Hall, Rogers, Township Hall. Those are the only three that they've listed at this point. I don't know if they're going to put anything in the, it does say that there will be an electronic copy posted on the township website, but I don't know if it's going to go into the paper or not. In any case, it's something for folks to be aware of. If anyone knows of a retired Air Force, whether it be someone who worked for the Air Force or was a civilian that worked on the Air Force base, to find that flyer and get in touch with the Air Force. Put them in touch. That's my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Sea Lake Improvement Board. Mr. Wissenberg, do you have any comments on that? I attended the meeting last Friday.
Well, I have one comment for Tammy. Is there an actionable item? Did it come back from the attorney? Or for later?
She is still working on that.
Okay, so I guess, Bill, I don't know where you want me to, we don't have an actionable item. I was going to address what I sent you last week.
Okay. I would report on the special meeting that was held last Friday. I did attend. They only had two items they wanted to discuss. One was to procure a realtor to list and sell some property that the CLIB owns. They had put out a couple of RFPs, and they got no response on any of those RFPs for realtor services. So now they're just going to contact a realtor directly to list those properties for sale. The other item was to, they had sent out bids for an applicator for applying the weed treatment for the lake, and they received 4 bids, and they are going to send those bids to the lake manager for review, and then the lake manager will make a recommendation to the board on the lake manager's suggestion for awarding the contract to the applicator. But there were four bids that were received. And that was the gist of that meeting. The Utility Subcommittee, Mr. Worcesterbarth.
Thank you, Bill. So we met our monthly meeting. Two of the large items that we discussed were the upcoming RFP for our utility services. Today we have our servicer as F&V operations. The committee is reviewing the last RFP, updating it for other items that we would like to see serviceable in the township and tracked a little bit more effectively than what we had in the last RFP. Our intent is to have the draft reviewed by the committee when we meet in the next meeting, which will be April 9th. It will not be April 8th. We usually meet on a Monday, but due to my wife and I traveling back that day, we pushed it to the Tuesday morning, the 9th. And the intent is to at least approve that in draft form at the committee level and bring that to the board at the last meeting in April, because I would like for the board to have plenty of time, and Ms. Klein to have plenty of time to get that RFP out into the marketplace. So hopefully later this summer we can look at the bids and decide what the board would like to do. The second large issue that we discussed was the water loss. It's constantly going on in the township. Mr. Freeman was in attendance as well. And he had come across an item based on the last main break that we had this winter by the River Road Bridge. There seems that there might be a possibility of a water main cross with Oscoda Township that may not be getting read in the meter. He's further investigating that, and we hope to have an update at our next committee in April. If that's true, that's going to account for a large share of the water loss. But we do not know if it's true. It is a possibility at this time. And then we'll discuss and approve the minutes from the last meeting in our upcoming April meeting, and they'll be in the board packet for next month.
All right, thank you. Next is the Community Resource Officer update. Chief Bowen.
Evening. Don't have a lot to report. Officer Klink is the one that gave me this information. Just MIPs and possession of marijuana are up at the school. It's been an ongoing problem, and it continues. Then you wanted me to hit on some upcoming events. March Reading Month with the kids at the school. We had the police versus the fire for the hockey team. Police won, and then this summer we have the police versus the fire for softball, and that's in June 20. It's actually June 22nd. He's also got presentation to the valedictorian seniors from the area. And Junior Police Academy, which I think is a great thing that he's doing. I think he's going to try and have 2 this year, which my understanding is last summer when he did it was a big hit. We got a generous donation to the Junior Police Academy from the Freemasons, Oscoda Lodge, which thank you. Safety Day, Old Orchard Park is coming up this summer. Iosco County Family Fun Fair at the Oscoda School is April 20th. Presentations at the school, cyberbullying, bullying, and okay to say. Additionally, I'd like to add that Officer Brandt passes FAA training for our drone program that we're going to start. After having to go to an outside agency to get a drone when we had that drowning about a month ago, a little over a month ago, we were able to get him through the training. He did very well, and we have a new drone ordered for him. Everything for that was under $2,000, which was great. And our new equipment's starting to come in. We thank you for that, and we're trying to get that installed as soon as possible.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Chief?
What do you, do you have any plans to try and curb the MIP issue at the school?
I believe he does. I just haven't talked to him in detail about that. So.
Good enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Oscoda Riverwalk Advisory Committee. Is there anyone here to speak on that? We had this on the agenda last month, and didn't have anyone here, so I guess we'll wait till next month. Next is Developed by Osco. Chris Martin.
I'd like to thank everybody for having me here. It's really a great honor to be able to speak in front of you. My name is Christopher Martin. I'm the Executive Director for Developed by Osco, and I'm here to give you our annual report. A few of the things I just want to touch base on, if you're not aware of who we are, we're an economic development organization here in Iosco County. Our vision is by facilitating the focus on regional assets, quality of life, educational opportunities in Iosco County, so we can experience economic growth as a whole. Our mission is just strictly to promote economic development here in Iosco County. I mean, it's real plain, right to the point. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're not, run by any government or whatnot, but we do ask memberships from our local government. Some of our operations. So I was able to give you the annual report for 2023. If you open it up, you'll see that some of our members and over here the last few months since we rolled out our we recently $1 grant through that's for grant writing. We've held 4 trained over 80 people. Some of these over the last 2 months. So there's been this education. I think it's a great thing for us as a from Saginaw, from Gaylord, Indian River, Johannesburg. I mean, they're traveling from distances to get that education. It's just assistance out of that rural readiness planning grant. And page, you'll see that our initiatives, one of them that we're extremely proud of is our Child Care Coalition, the Quad County Child Care Coalition. So what we've done with that was a grant that we received for $203,000 to study childcare in our Quad County area. And what we've identified is that we are living in a childcare desert. I think it's no secret that we have a childcare problem. When we have too many kids waiting for seats, and if there's kids waiting for seats, that means there's mothers at home that could be in the workforce. So those, we were able to identify. That report is actually available. The innovation report is available on our website if you'd like to go through the entire document. But on that piece, after the study was done, we went a step further and said, well, this is what we've identified. Now what are we going to do about it? One of the solutions that were identified in this report was to create a management service organization. So this management service organization ideally would do all the back office services for in-home care providers that they would normally do. We know that they're good at taking care of children, but they might not be good at books, the licensing, and etc. I mean, there's a lot that goes into opening a child care center, especially in-home. So this management service organization would be designed to help that out. We've gone after dollars through the Consumers Energy Foundation, as well as the rural planning, the rural fund grant through Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. So we're actually going after dollars to create this management service organization. We want it housed here in Oscoda County. We want to be the regional leader. This management service organization that we're designing would cover an 11-county area. And we're hoping that the target is to have 20 people, 20 different organizations as members of it, so that we would be able to fund after the initial buy-in. We would actually be able to fund this indefinitely. So then it would be housed, it'll be a separate nonprofit outside of DI. Since we're a facilitator, we're just trying to get this off the ground so that it can be its own thing into the future, and it'll serve that the entire region. Is the hope. We're hoping we should know by June whether or not, that's when we kicked it off, whether or not we'll have those funds. There's been a lot of interest in it, and we're just asking the Office of Rural Prosperity, if we've done the work to do the study, now we need the money to create the solutions. So we're really confident that we have a good chance of starting that here and house it right in Oscoda County. So very proud of that. There's been a lot of countless hours. We've had buy-in as well from NEMSCA and NEMCOG to help us support that management service organization. Recently, they came out with mini grants. There's a link on our website for those. They're up to $6,000 for grantee. That's to start or expand in-home childcare, and the dynamic is $1,000 per child. So if you're going to open an in-home, we'll give you up to $6,000, $1,000 per kid to be able to open that in-home care provider. Or if you're expanding up to 12, that's another $6,000 that you can apply for. There's been a lot of interest in that. I'm not sure what the current numbers are. Fran Omani is here. She's also from our board and as well, so she has some of that. But we're hoping to get as many child care centers started as we can, because that's a lot to have those children waiting. Moving on, environmental concerns. As we all know, we're probably acutely aware of. We're staying active in that as well, because to develop those plans. They're meeting here next month. Is that next prosperity meeting? So I'm not going to touch too much more on that. I'm sure it's nothing new for this board. The economic capacity, development capacity grant, I touched on that. We've trained quite a few people in there. We're hoping, we're actually holding another grant writing workshop on May 4th. That'll be at Eagle Point Plaza in Hale. Through the last 4 grant writing workshops, what we've learned and we've listened through our surveys is that people want more. They want more in-depth training of what it is to write a grant. And what we've also learned is a lot of nonprofits in our area are needing this training. So there's a lot of nonprofits that have the ability to go after these grants, and they just don't know quite how to get there. So we're holding it. It's a 4 parts. We're focusing on public safety, so that'd be fire as well as police, as well as municipal grants and nonprofit. So there's 4 pieces. It'll go from 9 till 4 on May 4th, Eagle Point Plaza. You can come to it all or come to one. We welcome everybody. And that goes back to our reporting to the Office of Rural Prosperity. They're very excited about this grant. Lisa Miller from the Office of Rural Prosperity has reached out to me to find out our numbers because they're excited. We're actually doing a mini presentation at the Rural Summit in Gaylord on May 20th. And they're going to, they just want to give us a little blurb of how successful we have been with this. We're hoping this leads to more sustained funding in Northeast Michigan to create more training for grant funding throughout the other state, the other counties. They're very jealous of what we have going on. On top of that, for our DI members, we're offering 20 hours of grant writing assistance. With the $50,000, we hired a local grant writer, Mid-Michigan Grant Writers and Associates, to assist us. We wanted to keep those dollars local, so that's who we sought, and we were able to get that. So we're offering those dollars to those hours to our members to hopefully lead to grant dollars coming to Oscoda County. So very excited about that as well. DI Winter Market, we've had some successes and some learning experiences with that. We wanted it to be more of a small business incubator. It hasn't quite worked out that way, but we're adjusting. But we have been able to create a venue for those people that sell at the farmers market, somewhere to sell in the winter. But we are revisiting that for the 2024-25 season, and it'll look different than what it has in the past. High-speed internet, the Robin grant, we did get passed over. Point Broadband rescinded their grant and led to that $15 million that was slotted for us not to come. We are working very diligently with the county and their consultant, Chris Scherer, to try to develop a plan for the BEAD grant. BEAD funding is 100% funding for the state of Michigan, so everybody on the map that is either marked as underserved or unserved will get an internet service provider before the state of Michigan releases any BEAD funding. So every one of those dots have to be claimed by an internet service provider before they'll release funds. And now why that's important is because Oscoda County has a tendency to be the chopped liver when it comes to grant funding. So we want to make sure that we get an internet service provider and we're not shoved in with somebody else's group and be split up. So we're really working hard with our consultant to make sure our maps are as up to date as possible, and we're pursuing internet service providers to come and service Oscoda County and why they should. So we're meeting next month. Chris Scherer is coming up in person to verify our maps for the unserved and underserved to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. So when BEAD funding comes out, and remind you, it's that BEAD funding has to be applied for by a internet service provider. It cannot be done by the municipalities or a nonprofit. The one putting it up has to be the one that's applying for it. So that we have to make sure that we're as marketable to those ISPs as possible. So we're working really hard on that. Looking forward to hopefully bringing that. Mind you, as well as that's all fiber. That's all fiber in the ground for BEAD in Oscoda County. We had a meeting with Eric Frederick from the My High office to just discuss what happened with Robin and what to expect with BEAD. It was very productive, and he's very concerned with Oscoda County because we are a unique area, as well as making sure. We just asked that the My High office, that if they're going to grant these funds, when there's billions of dollars on the table and internet service providers are coming out of the woodwork, to vet those ISPs so that we don't end up in the same situation 10 years from now to where we still don't have any internet service and we're fighting with the other grants that have not been fulfilled in our area. he was very, very open to that, and he said, yes, we're working on that to make sure that these ISPs, if they apply for these grant funds, they're going to put it in the ground, and they will be held accountable. So moving, on from that. So some of the investments in the next part that we've made in this last year, we've made a lot of progress over the last year, to include hiring me as the executive director. We've had some growing pains with that. We're learning a lot, but we've been very successful in bringing dollars into Iosco County that otherwise may have not been there. Some of the other things that we were working on is we were revisiting our tourism and recreation initiative and bringing in what we can do with that. Rich Castle has been leading that up. It's been very, very productive, and we're looking at avenues to get more representation in Lansing. So it's been actually very, very productive, a lot of great positive energy on those boards and all of our initiatives. As well, we're working as well with the Small Business Development Hub in Target Alpena. We'd like to schedule some lunch and learns over the summer and in partnership with the SBDC and those grant dollars to make sure that we get our businesses some education. And just like that MSO for the childcare, our businesses are in the same boat. They might be really very great at what they're doing and what their product is, but they probably need some back office help, so whether it be human resources, legal, bookkeeping, accounting, Facebook presence, whatever it may be. We need to identify that here in Iosco County so we can take that back to Target Alpena and their larger grant to make sure those dollars are coming here to Iosco County and we're not getting passed over. We kind of got grouped in with that bunch because there wasn't some other things that happened in the past, but we just have to make sure going forward that, we're not waiting for someone to ask us what we want. We're telling the state of Michigan what we need, and we're standing up for those things. So just another thing to keep in mind. I think I touched on everything, but I could sit here and talk about economic development all night. But out of respect for everybody's time, I'll cut it right there. And if there's any questions for me, please let me know. But I really do appreciate your time. We are meeting with your EIC here on April 4th to discuss membership for Oscoda Township. We have 2 townships or actually 2 municipalities out of the entire county to include that haven't yet joined us, but we really want your support and be a part of it. Iosco County has bought in for the entire county into us, and that shows a lot when we go after bigger grants, that Iosco County is taking their economic development future seriously. And we're all on the same boat. We're all buying in. It's unheard of to have an economic development organization that isn't tied to the government, or government subsidy or whatever, or tied to the county, to have such a following of municipalities. And we don't want to let you down. We're here not to override any economic development efforts. We're here to complement and just do our best so that we can lead our region. So that's all I have. And again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Martin before he leaves?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the EIC website update. Mr. Cummings.
Yeah, I kind of have to ask, other than the meeting that I was able to watch on video about this, this topic is new in the sense that it's not been on this agenda before, nor has anyone asked me for an update. So one of the things that I think needs to be clarified here is that roughly a year ago, we lost our website, something around that time. Right around the same time or just after we let our EIC director go. And I think we finally obtained the assets to the website around July, end of July last year. First I heard about this was in the newspaper in January when at an EIC meeting, the question came up of where are we at with the website? And I sat there and Ms. Klein said she'd have to ask me. And I said, that's interesting, news to me. So I contacted her in an email and found out that there was an email she had sent me the end of July last year that was never opened. It was buried in a bunch of spam from, when you get on the boards here, you get a lot of email from everybody wanting to sell the township something. And so I replied back and said, oh, I found the email now. And so I arranged to meet with Ms. Klein to pick up the files that were transitioned to us by Digital 55. First meeting I had, we needed to reschedule because she became busy at that time. And when I came in, we spent about an hour going through the transfer of the files. And in a quick little sit down and looking at what these files contained, what they gave us was not a clean transfer of, oh, by the way, these are the things we built your website with. What they gave us was a copy of what resided on the website servers. It was it was a roughly 5,600 files and a lot of directory structure. None of the file names, or very few of them, had meaningful names. So you had to go into every picture in order to try to identify the content that we originally saw on the EIC website when it was up a year ago. And honestly, in the hour that we were there, Ms. Klein and I just sat there and looked at it and went, this is going to take a lot more time. We were hoping for a quick win, that we might find the graphics that were originally there that were quite good. They were the assets that I believe this township originally paid for. But we couldn't find them right away. So I said, I'll take what I've got and I'll go back and I'll start looking at it, start trying to rearrange this into a meaningful directory structure. And that was roughly 2 months ago, almost to the day. I have not had time to work on this. And to be honest with you, I'm doing this for free. I have a thriving company, and this is just more than I can take on right now. But again, no one's asked me for my progress until this whole thing decided to pop up in a rhetoric that was couched as holding my feet to the fire. Anyway, so my recommendation here is that Mr. Eiler said a couple times that he's a website developer, and I recommend that this transition to him. He's capable, and only a question of whether or not he has time. Go ahead. Your pressed lips. I don't know.
Well, no, I was just going to add that I was approached by the EIC.
Yeah.
For that information.
Yeah, during the meeting I gathered. Yeah.
From back in June or July, between you and Mr. Spencer, who helped me get the link and all the documents out of that because I didn't have the program to pull that out.
Right.
You guys had volunteered, mainly you, to put the EIC website back up and running. So when I sent that link to you back in July, that was because I am not a website creator.
No, I wasn't expecting.
And when they asked me about it in December, I had stated that I would have to ask you because I didn't know.
I understand.
And then we had our discussion, you came in, you got the information, and it was asked again at the March meeting. So I thought it'd be prudent that I add that for an update so everyone had that information, because a lot of people,
right,
not just Ms. House, are wondering where the EIC website is.
Totally right. But not you speaking there at the meeting, but the rhetoric was this, the tone and the words were, holding my feet to the fire.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
No, that's totally fine. It wasn't you. I get it. But the point here is that we have spent tens of thousands of dollars on vendors, not just for the website, but also for our EIC director. And the bottom line is, you know, I can't play the role of filling the gap. It's something that does need to be done, but at no time have I said, don't spend any more money or don't get somebody else involved. We're trying to come up with a way to get this thing solved quickly, and in looking at what I've walked away with in January, it's not a quick hit for me. Also, in context for some of the other things that have happened here, everyone is familiar with the old economic improvement domain name being lost by the township because we weren't aware of the fact that it expired, or that we didn't own it anymore, and someone else picked it up and put soft porn on it. And so, you know, I worked with Ms. Klein to go and get that fixed very quickly. And I explained that to Mr. Eiler, you know, when he asked about that in January. So, you know, it's like, there are some things I can respond to very quickly, and I have, but this is something that I just can't find the time right now to put this whole website back together again. This is Humpty Dumpty, not a redesign. It's a put it together, and we have to identify the artifacts from that original website in order to put the website back together again. I don't happen to have screenshots or anything from the original website. I wish I did now. In hindsight, I wish anybody would have saved, taken a screenshot of them, because they were valuable and they communicated really well. There was a lot of good demographic data that we need and should have available. In any case, you know, my point here is, you know, if Mr. Eiler can help, that would be great. If we are, you know, otherwise looking for other solutions, then I would recommend taking this and going out off-site again and getting another vendor, because, because I think it's a substantial effort. There it is. That's the update.
I feel like I should chime in here.
Sure.
I was under the impression that we were going to go get the files, and then, you know, that somebody else would take over and get the website developed. I didn't realize that everyone was assuming that Mr. Cummings and myself were going to completely rebuild the website. I don't remember saying that we were going to do that, but at the same time, it does need to get completed.
It does.
And with the discussions that I've had with Mr. Cummings, I would almost say that perhaps we should call the current township website and get a quote from them on throwing this together under our current domain name with a subdomain of eic.oscodatownshipmi.gov.
I could do that.
And that way we can get some bids on how much it's going to cost to repair it. It will be under our domain name where it should be.
Yes,
and we can all move forward with the completed site. Does anybody thoughts? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with the point. I really never liked the idea that it got created under a .com, just as a point. We're a government facility, and EIC is part of it and should have been .gov to begin with. But that wasn't, I don't think any of us were aware of that when we saw and approved the EIC pitch. It wasn't clear that that's the direction it was going to go until we finally then saw the website and went, oh, so that's what they had in mind. The other problem is, just like some website hosting providers can and have done, and there are probably some people in the audience here who know this, that a company who buys your domain name for you as part of the domain, your website package, they own your domain name. And if they don't pay that domain name renewal, your asset that you've been investing in and building your business on can get lost. And there are some really nasty people out there that are looking for that opportunity on the internet to snatch up the minute that domain name becomes available, hoping that you'll be willing to come back later and spend beaucoup bucks trying to get it back. And it happened actually to Develop by Osco.
It also happened
as I remembered some years ago when I was trying to help with that. And it was a disaster. You ended up having to change your domain name at that point. And I don't know actually what your domain name even is today. But I think we lost it. And yep, it's the one that we lost the old one. It's the one that we actually got after all, the hyphenated version. So, yep, just saying, it happens, and it's unfortunate. And even more unfortunate, we have the EIC website that was ours that someone else is basically benefiting from because they're getting this crazy traffic, that we created for them. So anyway, so I agree with you. Absolutely why they do it. Yep, absolutely. So anyway, there it is.
All right, thank you for
You're very welcome.
that report. I know there's been a good number of questions over the last several months of what's happened to the EIC website, and I think everybody on the board was thankful when you and Mr. Spencer volunteered to sort of take this over. I won't speak for the rest of the board members, but for myself, this would be like me, going into outer space. I would not have the first clue of how to do anything with a website or a web page. So
I think all of us on this board, if we go into outer space, we're going to hold our breath. That's about it.
I think what was originally thought was that if we could just get the thing back from the original, then we could just take that and reboot it somehow.
Correct, exactly right.
But obviously that is not the case, and so I've been thinking all along, well, wouldn't it be better to just start over somehow?
Understood.
And I think that's what you're sort of suggesting.
But the starting over, in the worst case scenario of starting over means we start over even with the graphics that we had. I don't know how those graphics were, what basic data we gave them for those graphics. Obviously, somebody had metrics, but I don't know where any of that is. We couldn't find it. And I don't think, Tammy, did you say you knew where any of that came from at the time?
It all came from the people who created the website.
But we had to give them something because the graphics had numbers which they didn't make up, so.
Not that I'm aware of. I wasn't a part of that particular
So
part.
probably our old economic improvement director then. Who
Probably.
created it. Okay, well, in any case, the point was that we were trying to get those graphics. We were trying not to do a full hard restart, but rather just go find those graphics and then put the pages back together again. And that's where we left it 2 months ago, and now it's just a time constraint for me.
Okay,
That's
all right. Well, thank you for that report.
Of
I'm
course.
sure everyone was eager to know what was going on with the EIC, and I think maybe now everybody has a little better idea. Next is superintendent's report. Before we start that, Ms. Klein has taken a class in parliamentary procedure, and she and I have been talking about that a little bit here recently. I would like to make a slight change in how we proceed with our actions. It was suggested in the class that we could, because my ultimate goal is to try and save some time and make these meetings a little shorter. Right now, I'm working on a 37-minute meeting that Ms. McGuire was able to have while I was gone, and so I'm setting that as my goal, to try and get our meetings under 37 minutes. Obviously, that's not going to happen tonight. But the suggestion that was made in the parliamentary class was that the way, and not that the way we've been doing is wrong, or there's anything wrong with the way it's been transpiring, but the suggestion is that the way it should be done is when you have an item that comes up, a motion should be made first. That should be the first action, is for someone to make a motion, support the motion, and then you have a discussion on the motion, not a discussion on the overall topic. So, which would obviously in some cases save some time, because now you're simply discussing what the topic in the motion itself. So that's what I would like to try doing tonight, if we could, and see how it goes, see if we can save some time. I'm not going to make that 37 minutes tonight, so, but hopefully in subsequent meetings, we can save, according to the class, they said it can save 30% on the time by following some of these procedures. So, anyway, next we're on to the superintendent's report. If you would give the information, and then we will hopefully have a motion in a second, and then we will have a discussion.
All right. So our first report item will be a request from Ms. Catherine Nguyen with F&V Operations for the purchase of 300 radio read units. These units will be purchased for upcoming Phase 6 water main project and are reimbursable through C2R2 funding. The estimated cost is $41,829 plus freight if that applies, which I'm not sure if that applies or not yet. So this item it can be paid for if we need to upfront through Fund 591-000-980.100, or when the C2R2 account has funds available.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the purchase of 300 radio read units for the upcoming Phase 6 water main project to be paid from Fund 591-000-980.100 to be reimbursed through C2R2 funding when funds are requested and made and reimbursed, I guess.
Support, Worcester Barth.
We have a motion to approve purchasing the 300 radio meters, supported by Mr. Worcester. Discussion.
I call the question.
Okay, what's the question?
Call it. You have to vote. There's no discussion. I'm calling the question.
No, we have debate on the issue. Does anybody have a question on?
That's why I did it on an easy one.
Just a comment, in the C2R2 fund right now, I have over $350,000 after the checks that I wrote today. So if you wanted to take it out of the C2 or R2, we could do that. We don't. We try to stay with the reimbursements just because we got out of order one time and it created an issue. But I don't know how Tammy feels about that.
That was up to you. That's why I said if the funds were available.
Yeah.
Would you prefer that?
It would be better, yes.
It would be better just because I don't like taking it out of the common account and, trying to have it, those guys have to try to track it and whatever. If we can pay for it now, then we should just take it out of that.
I would amend my motion to take the funds from the C2R2 fund that Ms. McGuire requested.
Support.
Okay, any other discussion? I would note that in your packet, it indicated 300 meter pits and water meters. That was not correct. We've already purchased the meters and the pits. This is the radio read units.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask a question. How big are these things? Are they just, how much do they weigh ballpark?
I don't know what they are.
That's what I was at, that's what I'm getting to. So should we approve and not to exceed for freight fees?
I would suggest you leave your motion the same for the plus freight if applicable. We don't know what it would be, so
So should I
it wouldn't
add
be
that?
significant.
I will amend my motion to include freight fees if applicable.
I'll re-support that for the third
Okay,
time.
Thank you.
all right. Any other discussion?
We're saving time now.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Taser,
Yes.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes?
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes, motion passed. Next is the Old Orchard Park intern and camper issues.
Our second report item consists of a memo from the Township's Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Al Epsitis. He is requesting to begin an intern program at the park to provide a great learning experience for those interested in careers in this field. An intern sponsorship at the park would be a length of internship for approximately 15 or 30 weeks, a pay range of $13 to $16 per hour based on a 40-hour work week. The park is also requesting to purchase a camper unit to house the intern with a possible rental use afterwards. And Mr. Epsitis is here for questions, hopefully after a motion.
Okay, I would suggest we would do this in two parts. Do I have a motion on the intern program?
I move that we approve the parks intern hire request based on a 15 or 30-hour program.
30, 15 or 30
Week program.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Taser and support by Ms. McGuire. Discussion.
Guess I'd like to hear from Al.
Mr. Abseitis, would you like to come forward and talk about this a little bit?
Saying cutting your time limit down.
Not yet.
How are you guys? So I've always wanted to do this program. It's something that's been in the back of my mind for quite a few years now, and we're always looking to improve things at the park. So one of the ways that I thought about maybe getting a professional, future recreational professional, which is an intern, to come to the park. Now, they have an option to do a 15 or a 30 week, so that means I can have one person do 15, and then they're out, or I can have two people do 2 15s as a total of 30, and then they go somewhere else, or they can do the whole program. The program is all dependent on the concentration they're going into, so we would concentrate mostly on the outdoor aspect, outdoor rec program, and they just bring a fresh new perspective to the rec field. And you know, there's things that I like to learn. I mean, there's things I'd like to know, and you can have somebody that is up current, and they do this every year, so it's a different, fresh thinking every single year. If this program can go through, that I'd like to try. I'd like to try at the park. It costs nothing more than a wage, so it's not anything other than you kind of give them an opportunity to see how a rec facility is run. The store, the security aspect, the maintenance aspect, the reservations, how to deal with people, you know, all kinds of things, rentals. You know, they get to see how to run a facility, a recreational facility. The other thing was that, you know, we have a great area here. I'd just like to get more professionals up in this area and realize that all the things we have to offer here, you know, not just from the township, but I mean, look, I heard all these things tonight. Everybody talking about these great things we're trying to do. That's wonderful. You know, these people, these kids that come up from all over the country, from central Michigan, that's where I'm trying to go through. Plug my alma mater there, but you know, maybe they need to come up to this area and go, wow, you know, there's a whole lot here more than I thought. And, you know, maybe the news will spread a little bit. Maybe we'll get some people saying, you know, I want to try there. There's some other things. There's some other places we can try. So that's kind of the program I wanted to do.
And if I'm not mistaken, you went through a similar program?
I did. I split mine up 15 weeks. 15 weeks I went one place, South Carolina, and then I did another place over in Mesec. Right before and it's a requirement to do an internship. In the 30 week is a requirement, and they can break it up however. And I put our facility into their database and tell them what we do and what we're looking for, and it goes out to the people looking for internships, and they can choose. So some of the things they choose from is not only the area, but if they're not from around here, we don't really have a place to stay. And that was the second part of what I was asking for. So, and I'll just beat that right out. But so if we get a camper, one of the things that I've also asked from us over the years, and this is my 13th year out there, is rentals. Do we rent campers? And we never have. We just didn't really have the opportunity, or I don't know the reason to get one. I think maybe this would kind of be a good starter if this is something that works in the future, you know, maybe we can get another one and another one and another one, you know, and have 4 or 5. It would just be on-site rentals that we wouldn't take it anywhere else. I don't have the staff or the means to do that, but you believe after a big rainstorm and the tent's soaking and they're asking, do you have somewhere to stay that's warm? I think everything would go over pretty good sometimes.
So you're feeling this, if we were to get a camper, it would pay for itself in short order?
Absolutely. You know, when I did my internship, and this, because I did it, I stayed in a camper on site. I got time off, but, you know, you were there, when I first came up here, I stayed at the park for the whole year, and you really learn a lot about schedules and how things happen and what time things are going on, and it's just kind of a cool experience to offer somebody, and there's lots of people that are looking for it, so, rec professionals I know that are looking for it, so.
Okay.
Is this an hour, are you doing hourly or salary for this?
It'd be hourly. It changed from when I did it. When I did it, it was a stipend, and it was $1,500. It's not a whole lot, but that's just what they did. Now they're doing more of an hourly wage. I talked to the lady beforehand. We've been talking to her since about December, and that's what probably 90% of the places do now, is they just do an hourly wage.
You have a range. How will you determine what the rate will be?
I don't. It's something I would work with the school on. You know, what a facility like ours would normally, what would you guys charge? You know, she said it would range between the 13 and 16, but she didn't say specifically what it would be, but I think I'd work with her a little bit more on that. So when they come out there, it's like a class. I mean, they have to do certain things. They have to provide us with a recreational program. So they have to do some kind of a program, and I have to, you know, tell them what I want, how I want it, when I want it, and they have to do it. And then they write a paper on it, you know, so they're doing classwork in between there. They interview me, they'd interview people from the township in the rec program about questions in our area. They shadow people, they see how Judy runs the store, how Elena does the thing, how Gary does, you know, so they kind of go and see how each department is run overall, and they work these different departments. They'll work the front desk, they'll work security, they'll work maintenance, they'll clean a bathroom, they'll clean a yurt, you know, they'll mow, they'll do everything it takes, and that's the best way to learn, is just by doing. So it's a great program. I've done it. I learned a lot. It helped me, you know, get my feet in the water, or, you know, and to do into rec programs, and it's a great opportunity for rec professionals. So.
All right. Any other discussion? Question?
Yeah, I did have some questions. So Al, you said you were with 2 other internships. What were the other internships? What were the organizations?
That I did?
Yeah.
One was a campground.
Okay.
One was a vacation rental resort.
Uh-huh.
So we did everything. We did programs. We had to do a program. There was 15 of us, and we were divided in between eight properties on the island. So we did every 2 weeks. We did, you know, cleaning, we did housekeeping, we did security, we did front desk, we answered the phones. You know, when we had issues, we were trained with how to deal with these people. They showed how to deal with issues we had. It was kind of interesting. I mean, you really learn a lot about, there's more to running, you know, a recreational facility than just coming to work and letting people have a good time.
No, totally. And then the other facility was, or the other resort, or the other internship was what?
It was from Marriott.
Fair enough. Okay, got it. So that leads me to my question, which was, I wondered if there was a precedence here, because I'm wondering if public funds can be used to purchase housing. I know that when we owned a lot of property, when Bill and I were just starting on the board, and there was an effort to try to get ourselves out of the rental business of any kind. Whether or not we can expend public funds to get a rental, like a camper, like you say, I don't think there's a problem when we hire somebody like Sunny Buns to rent equipment, because we're not the one who's doing the renting. But I'm just wondering if that's been investigated at all. I mean, has this gone to our attorney?
That's what my place does, is we rent yurts and cabins.
No, I understand, but I'm just wondering if this, I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
I don't think renting a camper would be any different than renting a yurt or one of the cabins out there or a space.
Bicycle,
Well,
boats.
renting it to an individual that wants to come to the campsite for recreation is one thing, but renting it to a township employee,
Yeah.
I think that's what Mr. Cummings is alluding to,
Yeah.
is that, yeah, we can buy a camper, and yes, we can rent campers out to people, but can we provide housing for township employees?
Yeah.
I
don't know.
think that's a good
I don't know if
question.
it'd be a township.
And your 13 to 16 hours you've got set up here, is that all budgeted? Do you have that already? You said this is kind of a new position, so you've got all the budget squared away, and the $5,500 for the camper is all built into it too?
Yep.
And what kind of camper is it? Because a $5,500 camper is...
You know what? When you first start looking into this in December and January, they're all over.
Oh, yeah.
About now, they're going pretty quick.
Yeah.
So whether I can do it this spring or I have to wait till this fall is a different story. There's specific ones I'm looking for. I don't want any slide outs if I can help it, but you can find them. There's some really good ones out there. They came up, but they went just as fast as they came up. So we actually have an eye on one right now. We'll see if it's still there tomorrow, but.
Well, just a suggestion, I would like to expand that to be between 5,500 and 6,500 to give you a little room, wiggle room for finding. And I think, if I remember correctly, you said that providing housing for this intern is required through the university. Is that correct?
It's not required. It's people kind of look for it.
An incentive?
Yeah, there was a, you kind of want to go to a place, especially if you don't know the area, and you come up and they have a place for you to stay that's kind of desired. Not actually, we don't have to provide it. It's just a desirable thing to get people to come up here.
Okay. You're planning on doing this more than 1 year?
Yeah.
So if we did get the camper, you probably wouldn't be able to rent it out, really. It would be used next year by the next intern.
It depends on how long I get an intern for. If they stay for 15 weeks, my whole season's 40 weeks. I go beyond that, and it rents it out beyond in the spring and in the fall.
Okay.
Any other questions on the motion?
The only thing I'd like to see is, Mr. Cummings, I think, has a valid point that we should make doggone sure that we're not going to violate any laws with this. So if we could amend the motion to just run it by the attorney, and as long as the attorney says, yep, do it, then off we go.
The only one we're talking about right now is the intern, not the camper.
Both? Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, yeah.
What was that?
So the intern, we're talking about the intern.
Yeah,
not the
this
camper.
motion is for the intern
Correct,
program.
yeah, that's right.
All right, another discussion. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. The second part is to approve purchasing a camper. Like I said, I would suggest we have a range between 5,500 and 6,500. Give Mr. Alcides a little wiggle room there. Can I get a motion?
I would move to approve the purchase of a camper not to exceeding, or not, with an amount not to exceed $6,500 for the intern to live in while they're working at the park from Fund 218-000-984.000 pending attorney approval of housing for township employee.
Support?
Okay. Discussion.
Would we have to create some type of agreement between the intern, for maintaining the camper, obviously, that they would have to sign?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I would think so, some kind of
I'm
agreement that-
assuming that would be part of the review. Okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the contract, I would think. We would have a contract with them, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, there might
Okay.
even be,
Just checking.
there might even be a way around it by saying that we're only, we're going to charge $20 a month for the trailer instead of giving it to them free. So when you're speaking with the attorney, maybe bring up ways to make it happen within the law.
Yep.
Yes.
Any other questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. So, I hope you can find a camper, Al. They go fast. Next item.
Okay, our third report item is the requested revision of the facade grant from the Economic Improvement Committee. The committee met on March 19th in a special meeting to go over and rework the grant as directed by the Oscoda Township Board. I am going to let Mr. Sutton follow up because I was unable to make that meeting, so he has more information than I do.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the 2024 Oscoda Township Facade Grant Program as presented.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Westergaard. Discussion.
Did everybody get a chance to review it?
Yes, I did. And there's a mistake that needs to be corrected. It's, looking for it here. Give me a moment. We refer to, trying to find the page, sorry. We refer to, or here it is. It's on page 29 of the board packet, where we refer to the Economic Improvement Authority, parentheses, EIC. This same typo occurs in the bylaws as well, but it needs to be corrected. It's an Economic Improvement Committee.
Is there a title on that page?
It's the bullet point, second from the bottom.
Facade Improvement Grant Program.
And the program purpose.
Right there. Right there.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Like I said, page 29 of the packet.
I just had it printed out, that's what.
Oh, got it. It doesn't have page numbers, so I couldn't give you a page number for the document.
Were there any other questions or corrections that anybody noticed in there?
Well, just like I attended that special meeting, and I thought the board did a great job. They had a full board for the first time in a long time, and I thought they did a great job covering all the issues that were brought forward from our board, our prior board meeting.
Okay.
So do we need to amend the motion with Mr. Cummings' changes? And
Then I would amend my motion to approve the 2024 Oscoda Township Facade Grant Program with corrections presented.
I'll re-support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurschenbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next, we have our row invoices.
Okay, our fourth report item will be the following listed invoices from Rowe Engineering for services rendered. These invoices require Township Board approval.
I would make a motion that we approve payment of invoice number 112,385 for the Iasco Exploration Trail in the amount of $680 to be paid from account 101-751-880.572.
Support.
Is there discussion? This is pretty straightforward. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurschenbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed.
I would make another motion to approve invoice number 112,415 for water system improvements in the amount of $470 to be paid from the C2R2 fund after reimbursement is available, or if the funds are currently available.
Currently.
To be paid from C2R2 funds immediately.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurschenbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed.
I would make an additional motion to pay invoice number 112,421, 2024 Oscoda Township DWSRF in the amount of $55,819.50 from account 591-536-821.000.
If I could interject here, sorry. So Ms. McGuire let me know this morning that we now have our checking set up for the 2024 DWSRF and the 2024 CWSRF. And I don't have a fund for those, but if we could say that to be paid from the 2024 Oscoda Township DWSRF checking, and for the next one, CWSRF checking.
I would amend my motion to change the payment account from 591-536-821.000 to the 2024 DWSRF checking account.
Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed.
I would make a motion to pay invoice number 112,425 from the 2024 Oscoda Township CWSRF in the amount of $117,423.25 to be paid from the 2024 CWSRF checking account.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed.
I would make a motion to approve invoice number 112,426 for the Oscoda Downtown Water Main in the amount of $8,595 even to be paid from account 591-536-821.000.
Support.
Oh, sorry.
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Taser, approve invoice 11246. Any discussion?
Yes, my only question for the next two is, are those the community development, the Senator Peters money? Is that where that's, I'll be
Yes.
reimbursing from there? Okay.
Yeah, well, so we don't have that, we're not to your request.
You're not there yet? Yeah,
so-
till later on in the agenda? Okay.
Right, so,
Okay.
So nothing needs to change now?
Nothing to change right now.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed.
I would make a motion to approve invoice number 112,429 for Oscoda River Road Water Main in the amount of $3,562.50 to be paid from account 591-536-821.000.
Support.
A motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. McGuire to approve invoice 112429. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the fire department.
all right. Our final item in my report will be the fire department's request to purchase a washer extractor unit. This is a capital improvement purchase scheduled for 2024 to replace the current unit that has been in service for many years. This unit allows the firefighters to wash and maintain their gear for structural and wildland firefighter protection. This item was budgeted for $5,000 in 2024, but due to cost increases is now $7,564. The savings from the wildland firefighter gear will cover the increase. Now, this $7,564 also covers installation and removal of the old washer extractor. And Mr. Spencer, I remember your comments from the last, the dryer unit. And if you could see that thing working, I got to see it today. It's pretty amazing. It dries multiple suits at once.
Perhaps I'll bring one of my suits down and we'll try it out.
You should, maybe. It's pretty neat.
Well, I guess I would make a motion to approve the purchase of a washer extractor unit that was included in the capital improvement in 2024 in the amount of $7,564 even, to be paid from Fund 206-000-981.000.
Support Sutton.
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton, to purchase the fire department request for a washer. Any discussion? The only question I had, and looking at the invoice, it has on here D&I. I'm assuming that's delivery installation for $500? Because at the top of the invoice, it says customer pickup.
Correct, that's delivery. They deliver, install, and remove the old.
Okay, so the customer pickup up at the top of the invoice isn't
Correct.
correct, okay. All right, any other comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next are resolutions. 2024-10. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-10 in support of the application for the 2024 MNRTF Development Grant for the Oscoda Beach Park improvements.
Support Cummings.
We have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Cummings. Discussion. As Ms. McGuire indicated, this is to approve the development grant through MNRTF for the Oscoda Beach Park improvements.
Do we have a list of the improvements somewhere that it's talking about? It was in the backup stuff, right?
I think it's listed in there.
Okay.
Looks like the repair, rehabilitation, reconstruction of the existing boardwalk, beach access, and wind water erosion protections at Oscoda Beach Park.
Yes.
Is this changed from last time that we? Okay.
Yes, yes. So Rick and I have been working with a coastal group that specializes in erosion. And because we lost so much beach back in 2019, they had contacted first Tara and then myself, and then we got Rick involved. He's kind of the main staple. To see what we could do, what they could offer us. They offer natural solutions to erosion. And if you have been down on the boardwalk lately, it's from all the sand being packed up underneath the boardwalk. There's no longer any space between the sand and the boardwalk. And it's kind of a very important feature of the beach park. So with this grant funding, we thought that we could get that replaced. It's in really bad shape. We had, I think, Bill, you were there with me when we had the previous Eagle people that had helped us with the last grant funding for that actual boardwalk. And I was kind of, since 2011, when I first started with the township, we used to be able to pull garbage and things out from underneath the boardwalk. Now you can't get to the steps. So I think that's a whole lot of the issue, but that's what this would be for, is to get that the boardwalk put back in place and replaced.
And Rick, in looking at that, because I was down there with Ms. Klein when we looked at because it's made out of treated wood, but when that gets, the water washed over it and the sand, wood deteriorates over time. And so there were some pretty severe boards that were in disrepair. I think our DPW is going to try and replace a few of them, but in doing this project, would there be any thought to putting in some sort of composite materials?
Yes, actually, working with the group that Tammy mentioned, what we're going to do is basically, we'll probably look at raising the existing boardwalk as far as elevation goes, taking the existing deck off, raising a new deck, or raising the elevation to put a new deck on, and it'll be what they actually call wheels, no heels. And what it is it's a composite deck. It allows wheelchair access without any problem. It's open, so air and water will go through it, and high heels will not get stuck in it. So that's how they came up with the wheels, no heels. It's actually a.
Good to know.
Don't wear your heels.
So yes, so it'll be elevated, it'll be composite, and like I said, water and wind will go through it. And then along with the provisions that this group is going to give us is for some dune restoration, beach grass restoration, and stormwater rain gardens, so that the stormwater gets trapped in these rain, as you probably have all seen in different areas, where it traps that stormwater, so we don't get any stormwater runoff issues either, so.
Excellent. All right, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Westerbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is Resolution 2024-11.
I would make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-11.
Support, Sutton?
Any questions on this discussion? This is for the Sunrise, what we call 3 Mile Park, I guess. You want to talk just a little bit about what they're planning to do there?
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is, obviously, you all live here and see it, there's a lot of traffic that stops along that stretch of US 23 throughout the primarily the summer months, but also, fall and spring. And there, other than the MDOT roadside parks further south, in this stretch, there is no other parking other than on the shoulder. So what this grant is, we're going to look forward to is to provide an off the right-of-way aggregate vehicle parking lot that will have access on the 23, get the vehicles physically even off the shoulder of the road into a parking area. And then this has a pretty extensive dune, seagrass, natural area there, but as you can see, there's several areas where people cut through. We're going to pick primarily 2 or 3 of those, looks like maybe more used areas, and actually put in the beach access mats from the parking area, across the dune area, and down to the water's edge for, so that they're not continually disturbing that natural area, but then also, again, providing handicap accessibility to the lake in that area. So this is a recreation passport grant, similar to what we just got at Ratliff Park. And both of these applications are due April 1st with a decision on them in the fall.
Rick, could you clarify, so, there are places along there that are off the shoulder, they're like into the little
Into the
wooded
woods,
area.
yes.
Yeah, so are you saying that those would be like, you'd take out a section between those, or?
Yeah, well, obviously, being on US 23, we'll have to work with MDOT as far as an ideal location, but yes, we will pick an area somewhere along that stretch that's ideal, and then carve out an area. We'll have to work with them, obviously, having the right curb and gutter to access it. And then we won't eliminate those areas that are between, I'll say in the wooded area, from there down to the MDOT roadside parks.
Right.
But I think over time with this access, if we're successful, if this parking is there, people will stop using those, because I actually pulled into one today, and to back out, you can't see the traffic on
That's the
23
problem
until
with them.
you're on the shoulder.
Exactly, that's the problem with them.
Yes.
It's
So.
dicey.
Well, and one of those is also our emergency response entrance.
Right.
Yep.
So that has to be kept clear.
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Wusterbar?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next, we come to the other section. First is the Greenbush Township purchase request.
I've got that.
Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the purchase request for the 2011 Ford F-250 in the amount of $1,000 for the Greenbush Township Fire Department.
Support.
Mr. Taser. Motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Taser to approve the sale of the 2004 fire truck to Greenbush Township. Discussion, questions?
I have a
comments?
question. So I guess, we've done this a few times, and it's come up in meetings, I think, with Oscoda Township, that when we dispose of assets that were kind of jointly paid for, that were they going to be consulted, or it was just the money needed to go back into that fire fund or police fund, wherever they're going back? We're disposing of a fire asset, it goes back into the general fund, doesn't go into our general fund, it goes into the fire fund in this particular
Correct.
case.
With these.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we do that, so we choose to do this, that the money goes back into the fire fund.
It'll go into the revenue for the sale of fixed assets for that department.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, as long as it goes back to that department, I think we're clean.
With 107,000 miles on it, an F-250, 2011, I mean, that's probably going for $25,000 right now on this, on the lot. That's an awful good price. That's,
I actually have a point on that. So it's the trade-in range, considering the age, is actually coming up as 4,215 to 6,042. So it's more than the 1,000 something I was just hearing a moment ago.
yeah, they're asking to buy it for 1,000 even.
Yeah.
Well, I had mentioned to the fire chief that, if we've got some equipment that we're going to put on bid court
Yep.
to auction off. We probably could put this on there and get more for it. But quite frankly, Greenbush Township is a what would they call a mutual aid agreement with Oscoda Township. They do come and help us out when we have problems. And I do like the idea of trying to help out our neighbor townships whenever we can for these kinds of things. It's a 13-year-old truck, 107,000 miles. Granted, we could probably get another $1,000 or so for it, but I like the idea of helping our neighbors, and if we call them to come to our aid here in the spring when we have, some fires, it'd be nice if they had a decent truck that could get here to help, so.
Is that gasoline or diesel?
Gas. I believe that's gas, yeah. So, no other discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbar?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next up is the letter of support for Oscoda area schools.
Right. And that one I had put together.
I would make a motion to approve the letter of support for the Oscoda area school system in their endeavor for the new, what are we doing here?
Bond proposal.
Bond proposal, yes, thank you.
Support. Thank you.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton on the letter of support, Oscoda area schools. Discussion, questions, comments?
Well, I guess we have our superintendent in the audience.
See, Dr. Moore is in the audience.
And this is just if everybody reviewed it, it's just in support of the bond proposal that Oscoda's putting out. And I outlined in there why we're in support of that, and questions, comments? I'll just say, as somebody who went to school there, I went to the meeting about the school, and a lot of the issues that are gonna be addressed with this bond proposal are a lot of things that have been there for a long time, need to be addressed.
Oh, with the heating and the, yeah.
Yes.
I agree. I have to say that I am slightly reserved on the school system doing the community center. But, I have faith in Dr. Moore and his staff, and I'm hoping that this is going to turn out to be a much-needed community addition. So I think that we should give it a go.
And I think the important thing to note in this is that it's not a millage increase, it's simply extending a millage that was previously voted on. And I think, much like our fire and police departments, when we have millages, the community supports those. And I think our community thankfully has supported our schools in millages over the years, which is one of the reasons that we have the good school, the high ratings that we have. Dr. Moore had gone over those at a previous meeting, what the rankings we have, and that's something we can be proud of for this community. So, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is the Cedar Lake Improvement Board Letter. Is this done or?
So originally, Lisa had hoped to have everything completed, but I did put Mr. Woosterbarth's resignation in and sent it out to the entire board as part of this placeholder. I didn't know if you wanted to address that or to ask for
Well, I think
applications.
addressing the first item, because it came up in public not comment as well, so I guess if it's not available, I'd make a motion that we postpone the letter to the board on the actions from this board to the CLIB.
Support.
Now we can have discussion, Bill.
We postpone it to a date.
Oh,
Next
let's
meeting.
postpone it to the next meeting.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Woosterbarth, support by Mr. Spencer to postpone the letter relating to the CLIB. Is there any discussion on this at all?
Yeah, I just like to bring it up. So Tammy and I have had a couple of calls with Lisa. The documentation that she's going through is quite extensive, as we know from the public hearing, and also I've sent her additional documentation. So she is in the middle of drafting that letter. We had hoped to have it for this meeting. It's not for an action. It's just she wants to be very thorough in what we're asking for, because I have inferred that there are major violations in terms of OMA and an illegal expenditure of monies from the SAD district for both this board and past boards, as well as money spent on augmentation wells that are not listed in the SAD. And again, Mr. Linderman pointed all this out during my time on the board. It's nothing new. We've discussed that before. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have this letter that we discussed during the public hearing, and we can send that off to Iosco County, Alcona County, Greenbush Township, and CLIB.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Roll call, please. To postpone, this is to postpone.
Yes, to next meeting. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is to,
Is this a closure? What? Are we closing this account?
No.
no, we're opening an account.
For 2023?
Unfortunately, we're opening another one for me to keep track of.
Yeah, this,
I was all excited.
Ms. McGuire had made a request to open a checking account for the EPA grant fund, which we've been referring to as the Peters grant, Senator Peters grant. It's actually coming through the EPA. And so we need to get permission.
To do that.
So do I have a motion?
I would move to open a checking account for the EPA community grant for 2023.
Support Cummings.
And Ms. McGuire, did you want to speak on this at all? This is your request.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
we have to
I
have
mean,
it.
it's basically housekeeping. I have to have board approval to open it, and I gotta be able to put the money somewhere.
I think Tammy did I word the motion?
I think
Did I word
Jeremy made the motion.
correctly?
Yeah.
To your
Did you
needs?
say 23, though?
It says 23.
Oh, it should say 24.
I amend my motion to make it to the EPA community grant checking account for 20.
Yes.
Oh,
Mr. Freeman?
It is a 2023 EPA community.
Yes.
oh, okay, so it is 23, okay.
I rescind my alteration.
You standing with the
Okay.
original motion?
Yes.
All
I
right,
thought
any
maybe
other
I typed it
discussion?
wrong.
Who
Okay.
was the second?
Look at all the excitement we get out of making
Tim.
this motion first.
Tim,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. That concludes our business. Next up is public comment. Anyone can speak on any subject you choose. We just ask you state your name and you come forward for the record.
Hey, everybody. It's David Boback from Oscoda. I just wanted to introduce you to something that we've been building. It's called the Oscoda Buzz Hub app. So have you felt overwhelmed trying to keep up with all the events and happenings in our area? It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle, without seeing the picture on the box. Everybody has their own social media pages, websites, and it's posted everywhere else, but with the Oscoda Buzz Hub app, it's all brought together so that way people can just have it in their hands and see what's happening. So we noticed that there was that void that needed to be filled, so that's where we come in. The Oscoda Buzz Hub app. You can basically go to oscodabuzzhub.com and a little pop-up will show up. Just hit that and it's on your phone. So currently I think we've got about 80 events on there and we're adding more to it. It's just really handy to have it. We've also updated the calendar. I was using a different software and I didn't like it, so I upgraded the calendar so it's really nice. You're able to see all the flyers, all the information, who's hosting it, and be able to contact them directly. So it just makes it really easy. We're also going to be promoting it downstate and everything. We've got a plan to set up ads and everything and start posting it in the groups down there so that way when people come up here, they're going to have everything right in their hand. We just added all of the resorts and everything. For that, we're going to add all the businesses, all the retail and nonprofits. So when somebody comes to Oscoda, it's all going to be right on their phone. They're not going to have to go to all the individual pages. If they want to do business, they can go to the Oscoda website. If they want to go to the CVB site, it's right there on the app for them. Super easy. So, what else? I'm not much of a speaker, so I usually have it, I got it all written down. So we just want to be, the community hub where people can promote themselves. We'll promote you. We just want to, just show how good Oscoda is and that there's actually something going on every single day of the week. It's ridiculous. When I filled up that calendar and just looked at it, it's like, holy cow. It's just amazing. Our mission is we just aim to create an inviting online space where everybody in Oscoda can gather and exchange ideas, chat about local events, and promote businesses and services, and engage in conversations, that matter. So we're just here to basically nurture the community spirit, support local initiatives, all reflecting the heart and soul of Oscoda and AuSable. So whether you want to connect with fellow residents, promote your business, or simply just be a part of the, the conversation, the Oscoda Buzz Hub app is your place to go. So help us make this platform a cornerstone of community interaction. Let's build an even stronger Oscoda, connected by the heartstrings. So thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, you can just, ask me now or contact us on the Oscoda Buzz Hub app. So I did create a Facebook page for it, but it's an actual app that sits on your phone. You can't go to Android, or it's not on the Apple Store. It's called a progressive web app. It's just the new updated websites, technology that they have that just allows people to create a website and be able to have people download it on their phone. So you don't even need internet. Like so if they're out in the woods or something and they want to look up a map or just some information on there, the information's already on their phone. They don't need the internet for it. It's just really handy.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Thank you.
awesome, thank you.
Especially if you're spotty internet search.
I'm sure my 8-year-old granddaughter can help me find it.
Yes, she can put it on the phone.
Any other comments? Yes, JD? Oh,
JD, go ahead. I know you're gonna get back to your sound system.
Two different hats tonight. First one, Shoreline Players. Auditions for Steel Magnolias, 26 and 28 March at 6:30 p.m. right here. Saturday the 30th at 2 p.m. Audition packet on shorelineplayers.org. Boeing's new show dates opening April 6th. The 6th, the 12th, and the 13th at 7 p.m. The 7th and 14th at 2 p.m. Tickets on Shoreline Players website online. Now why I'm really here. MICTV hat. I had a meeting before the March 11th board meeting with Mr. Sutton and Ms. Klein. At that meeting, they asked me if the comments could be turned off, meaning could they be done? I responded, yes, it could. That was all that was asked of me. Was not told to do so, was not ordered to do so, was not asked to do so. On the 11th of March, I, as the Vice President of Michigan Community Television, decided to turn off the comments that had become increasingly negative throughout time. That set off a quite interesting chain of events. The board had not voted upon doing that at this point. However, I did not need board permission to do so. I was a founding member of MICTV and took it upon myself to do so. The board members, however, had been discussing it amongst ourselves. Like, for example, myself and Eric, then Eric and Sue Miller. So discussions had been being bantered about for quite some time. I just stepped up and took the bull by the horns and took care of it. Now the board has officially voted, and we have voted to keep the comments turned off because they are counterproductive. This next statement is from our president. The chat and message comment features of YouTube are not official channels for public comment and complaints regarding Oscoda Township board meetings. MICTV has nothing to do with politics and will not forward or review any posted comments. It has been the decision of the MICTV board, therefore, to disable the chat box and future message boards and or comments attached to the Oscoda Township meeting videos. If you have a public comment for a meeting, the only official way to do this is to attend and speak at the podium during public comment. This has never changed. We understand that during the pandemic, there were temporary but not required allowances put in place for the public to comment via internet technologies, but those allowances have been removed by the state. Furthermore, any implementation of internet commenting for Oscoda Township board meetings will not be via MICTV's YouTube channel. Our broadcast is for archival purposes only. We are not censoring anyone's public voice by turning off the chat and comments on our YouTube channel because it is our channel and not a public channel. Neither the township nor the public gets to dictate how we control our YouTube channel. Now that our board has taken official action, now that we've read our public statement, we wish to consider this incident completely closed. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Kelly Brown, Oscoda. Couple of things. Thank you for applying for the MNRTF grants. I think it's high time that the Sunrise side get some of these grants, and I think we should apply for any and every single grant out there. Only thing I would ask, because I think there was some questions from the board that I had myself, but I decided to save my comments till the second period. Before, when you put grants together, you've actually put a layout with it. I honestly didn't know where this Sunrise side Oscoda Park was. If somebody would have said 3 Mile Park, I would have been like, oh, I know where that's at. So I think it's great, though. I can't wait to see how it turns out, especially with the barriers for erosion, because I'm sure we're going to have up and down lake levels, because El Nino is now El Nino, if any of you have seen those updates in the weather. So thank you very much for that. Also for bringing about some of the improvements for the park with the intern program. I think that puts Oscoda on the map, and I know it's an expense, but I think the taxpayers would really appreciate that we get more visibility on the Sunrise side. So thank you all for continuing to support those efforts in our community. On to an item that I wanted to bring up. I once again am bringing up my request for a fiduciary audit of the accounts payable. Despite numerous prior requests, the matter remains unresolved. During a special meeting in November 2023, I directly asked Supervisor Palmer about this issue in the presence of Trustee Cummings and Treasurer McGuire. At that time, I was informed that a finance subcommittee was handling these concerns and that further action may be considered if they persisted. However, it's been 120 days, equivalent to 4 months, since then, and I believe it's crucial to highlight the additional instances and potential risks to the township and its taxpayers. We recently just took out $32 million in sewer and water grant bonds, and nobody knew our rating. And I think some of these payment issues could, in fact, impact it in the future. At the 2/12 meeting, you as a board approved the township paying October 2023 ATI billing. That bill was paid over 60 days late. Did we incur any late fees for that? I haven't FOIA'd that one yet. I did, however, stop in after the recent election to pay the clerk, Mr. Sutton, a compliment on how smooth the volunteering and voting went. And his son was even sitting in there, and he was a volunteer, which I think it's great to have our younger community volunteer for elections. I did follow up, and I did ask him about that, and he had informed me that that bill had just been received. Of course, I checked on it, called the treasurer's office. That bill was received in October. It just wasn't paid on time. I don't know why there was a need to lie, but unfortunately, that's where we're at. On your 2/29 meeting, the assessing services for November and December 2023 were paid on the 2/29 check run. That's 60 days late again. Do we have a late fee in our contract on this, since this is a new contract? Previously, I brought up prior that we had incurred interest in the year of 2022 for the tune of $3,800 just on one WEX bank account. I brought up prior payments for expense reports, i.e. Trustee Tazier, that were showing twice on the financials. Come to find out when I asked about it, oh, Josh just didn't put the correct accounts payable in the packet. How do we know as citizens? We don't know. Nobody's checking him. I brought up before that we've allocated, since his time in office, additional accounting training, since there was an article in the October Press of 2021 about this. And without board approval, the clerk had changed our utility billing, which incurred some additional fees, not only for the billing over $40,000, but also for the attorney fees. There seems to be a lot being pushed at our female treasurer for audits, but not the same consideration for our male clerk in the office, and I feel it needs to be addressed by this township and specifically by the leadership of this board. Thank you.
Were there any other comments? Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go to board comments. Ms. McGuire.
I do. Several, just kidding. I have, let's see. In May, the first week of May, up at the Legion, American Legion in Mankato, there's going to be a free class for CPR an AED defibrillatory class. There's flyers I'll have at the Township Hall. If you're interested, reach out to the Mankato Legion if you are also interested. The boat launch stickers for 2024 are in. I've had several people stop in, especially with the weather and no snow and no ice, asking about them. I know the docks will probably be going in May sometime, if not earlier. I don't know what they have in their agenda, but the stickers are available if you want to stop in to grab one. That's all I have. Price has not changed. Still $35.
Still a bargain.
Yep.
Mr. Taser?
Yes, I have one. I sit on the Oscoda County Housing Commission, and we had a meeting here this past month, and I would just like to mention that we went over 21 grant application, or 21 applications for the Michigan Hope Grant, which the Oscoda County has been awarded $500,000 for that grant. So 21 recipients got preliminary conditional awards for that, up to about $450,000. Since that time, we've been awarded another $500,000 in grants for the Michigan Hope Grant through MISTA. This program is for people of needs to up to $25,000 to put roofs on their homes, appliances, porches, windows, doors, insulation, all of those needs that they would have. They can apply for this grant through MISTA online, or Kathleen at the Oscoda County building. So I just wanted to mention that. It's a great program. And $1 million into the county for home repair for the needy, so this is good.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Whisper?
Thanks, Bill. In the board packet, something we didn't address because it wasn't actually an actionable item. There were some public comments made by Mr. Linderman and Ms. Brown beginning on the CLIB. I think I've addressed every one of your issues in my resignation letter that's in the packet, and what I am going to do as a riparian going forward to resolve or remedy the CLIB issues. In the terms of bringing up the ethics violation, I welcome it. So if this board so chooses that an ethics complaint should be filed on myself for the actions that I took on the CLIB, I welcome it and would gladly like the time to sit down and talk about it, and maybe that'll spark some actual activity in resolving the issues at the CLIB. And like both of those items with that letter, Tammy, or my resignation letter, and the pending letter to the CLIB from this board on the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cummings?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Spencer?
Nope, thank you.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Until the next meeting.
Mr. Sutton?
I would just like to remind everybody about the May 7th election for the proposed bond for the school. If you haven't seen the signs all over and everything else, it's coming up. If you can't be there to vote, please contact my office. You can get your ballot so you can vote absentee. There's no early voting with this, as it's a local election. Early voting is only with state and federal elections. So you can stop in at the clerk's office. If you can't make it election day, absentee ballot will be your only option. But stop in and get that taken care of. We'd like to see everybody out there to vote for this.
All right, thank you. And I just have a brief comment concerning the Phase 3 of the bike path, which was recently completed from Oscoda School out to Old Orchard Park. That was a multi-million-dollar project. We are planning to have a ribbon cutting this spring on May 11th. Would like to see everybody come out and participate in that. We're thinking of trying to get some transportation to take anybody that would like to see it from downtown, from Phase 1, where it starts at the river there, out up through Oscoda, and then to the school, and then out to Old Orchard Park. And the Phase 4, which will take it down from Phase 1 down to near the Baldwin Township line. That'll be starting this year, later this summer. And so, and now we're beginning to make plans for continuing out west from Old Orchard Park out towards Lumberman's Monument. That'll be Phase 5, and then Phase 7 on out to M65. And so those plans will be something we'll be working on here shortly for the IAT. But my main message was to let everybody know we're having a bike path Phase 3's ribbon cutting ceremony on May 11th, and that will be from 11 to 3, was it? I didn't bring my brochure, I'm sorry. It's on our website. There's a brochure, and it will be starting at the high school, at the parking lot there. So just want to welcome everybody out. Thank everyone for coming out tonight. And with no other business, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.